Good evening. 7 News can tonight reveal public units have been sitting empty for months on end, despite one of our worst housing crises in decades.
We've uncovered 14 homes neighbours say were completed a year ago, but instead of tenants moving in, weeds have overgrown the abandoned property. Elizabeth Creasy has this exclusive report.
As more than 20,000 people wait on WA's public housing list, these 14 units owned by the Housing Authority in Cannington remain empty.
For these beautifully appointed townhouses to be sitting empty while people are living on the streets, it is unacceptable.
Neighbours say builders finished up around a year ago, but in the months since, no one has moved in. Housing advocates say they could have tenants in them tomorrow.
I think it highlights that there's such a disconnect between the public housing waitlist and community housing providers, and the ability that we'd have to fill them really quickly.
The homes and gardens starting to fall into a state of disrepair. The gate left unlocked, even a door to a unit ajar. Weeds taking over, and reports squatters have moved in.
What we want from the Housing Minister is people living in completed housing projects. And here, that doesn't seem to be happening.
It cost the government $1.1 million to buy the block in 2019. It spent almost $6.6 million on the build. Work started in early 2021. This was the complex in April last year. But the department says the designated seniors accommodation is still not move-in ready.
Obviously, we want to ensure that we keep a minimum of stock vacant to ensure that we get that back into the housing system so that that can provide a home for a new tenant.
This financial year, the WA government is spending $4.7 billion on public housing. But that money is of little help when homes like these are sitting empty. 5.5 years after construction began, we're told they'll finally be complete next month. Elizabeth Creasy, 7 News.
An out-of-control car has flown through the air, crash landing in a grandmother's High Wycombe home. The young driver was arrested after allegedly trying to bolt from the wreckage. As Brandon Demura reports, the high-flying antics were all caught on camera.
Out of control and on a collision course. This Holden goes sky high in High Wycombe, smashing into the roof of a grandmother's home, crash landing in the garden.
Pretty crazy, it's on the side. Pretty wild to make that much impact.
This was just before 9 p.m. on Feeney Gardens. The impact leaving neighbours in shock.
Hit the roof. Oh my God.
It freaks me out because one of my fears is I do think about the front room and a car going through it. Yeah, that is a little confronting to see that.
The damage is extensive. The patio, fence and garden smashed to pieces. Workers on site today in a race against time to clean up the mess before the rain rolled in.
There was extensive damage to the metal framework. Obviously all the plants and everything have been damaged beyond repair. So yeah, she's done a good job on this.
The homeowner had just sat down in her living room to watch Home and Away when the roof was almost ripped off above her. She's been left shaken by the crash, but thankfully she wasn't hurt. The driver allegedly fleeing the crash, the 22-year-old arrested a short time later at her home around the corner. She's been charged with dangerous driving and failing to provide her details to police. Tonight, she's in a serious but stable condition in hospital, crashing back to reality. Brandon Demura, 7 News.
Nearly 3 decades of industrial peace on Pilbara mine sites was shattered today as BHP workers downed tools and walked off the job.
The 8-hour strike is expected to cost $50 million in revenue and royalties. As Cassidy Moscone reports, workers want a bigger slice of that pie.
This hasn't happened for a quarter of a century. BHP's Port Hedland workers walking off the job and into the history books. The start of an 8-hour strike that's expected to cost the miner $50 million after negotiations with the unions collapsed. Members want better pay and conditions.
It does say a lot about how much money they're making, but and it also says a little bit about how they can afford to pay these workers more money and give them a decent agreement.
The last time workers here picketed was in late 1999, early 2000.
What began on these Pilbara picket lines has spread to hit BHP across the country.
Today's action looked a little different. Coloured cones drawn as battle lines, face paint instead of war paint, a family-friendly move union critics say is aimed to shake its thug reputation. Danny Tamati has been in the industry for more than 3 decades. She says conditions on mine sites have come a long way.
Absolutely horrendous. 109 guys, 9 women, 2 young kids on the first mine site that I went to, and you're basically stuck on that mine site for three months.
Now in mining recruitment, she says retention is more important than ever.
Could be pay, it could be their roster of choice at the time, but what are the reasons why people are leaving their organisation?
We've got new competitors emerging, and this sends a signal that perhaps Western Australia is no longer the best place to develop that commodity.
The iron ore that is in the Pilbara is not going to magically pick up and shift overseas to another country.
Workers are expected to head back to work at 10 o'clock tonight before heading back to the negotiating table on Tuesday.
And Cassidy Moscone joins us from the newsroom with the latest. Cass, we're halfway through the strike. What impact has it had?
So BHP told us just a few minutes ago the strike hasn't crippled its operations and it's business as usual at the port. The iron ore giant is saying its ships have continued to be loaded with ore throughout the afternoon and was on track to successfully load 7 tankers. What that means for the claims of a massive hit to profits and public royalties is still to play out. Rick?
Thanks, Cass. Workers in North Fremantle have rushed to help a man trapped inside his car after it tumbled down a bank near train tracks. As Brianna in Ferrera reports, the crash caused part of the rail network to shut down just before peak hour.
After witnessing this, Manny Singh didn't think twice.
Not really a hero, but I saw that there's someone in the need.
The North Fremantle worker rushing down an embankment to help a 65-year-old man trapped inside his vehicle. The car crashing, coming to a halt right near train tracks.
We saw that the car was upside down, and then there was one guy inside it, and we couldn't open the door because it was locked from the inside. So I break the window, and then we opened the door.
I saw a car hit the pylon over there, and then it flew across in the air through the fence and flipped over into the bank. It's a little bit of panic because you don't know whether they're alive or not.
The frantic effort to rescue him unfolding near Stirling Highway just before 2 this afternoon.
An ambulance was randomly driving past, so we waved it down just like straight away.
The crash caused part of the train network to shut down this afternoon, with services cancelled between Claremont and Fremantle.